Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my review of The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 10, and this episode is called The Lost and the Plunderers. At least I think that's what it says, but you can see it in the title. Um, and this episode came out on March 4th, 2018, and it did say that this was one of the lowest um, rated episodes. It's since season one as adult fans and its smallest audience since the season two episode Judge Joey Executioner, which had 6.77 million viewers because this one had 6.82. Like I said, I don't know if this had anything to do with the storms that were going on at the time. It's really tough to say, um, but I'm really not sure. Maybe too, it had to do with the fact that Carl died in the last episode, so maybe everyone was just done with the show after that, so they didn't want to deal with it anymore. But really tough to say. Um, this episode was rather, I thought, um, pretty good. It was very interesting because in this episode, um, they kind of went over each individual character, and they had like a subtitle thing of the person's name if they were gonna go over, which I thought was kind of strange. Um, but I did like that they went through um, several storylines. Now there was really two storylines. Really, you could say there was three, but there was really two storylines that took place. I'm going to talk about the stuff that went on first between Aaron, Eden, and everybody in the ocean side, just because that was just such a small storyline. It really it didn't end up mattering in the end. So what happened is this is after the events of when Eden saw Natanya, and they get taken as prisoners, and Cindy is the one that gets to decide whether they live or die, since um, her and Natanya were family. I don't remember exactly how they were related because um, it's been a while since I've seen that an episode they were both in together. Um, so Cindy's gonna have them executed, and Eden convinces her not to execute them by telling them that you're just gonna be just like the saviors, that you're gonna try to punish us by killing us, but all you're really gonna do is kill yourself by causing our people to come after you. So then eventually they just let him go off in the woods, and Cindy tells him not to come back, but Aaron still wants to. Pretty much what happens is Aaron and Eden still want to convince them to help fight the saviors, and Aaron tells Eden to take a car and go back, and Eden tries to talk him out of it, but Aaron wants Eden to go back because he doesn't want Maggie coming over here looking for them, and he said that he's gonna. So she goes back, and Eden wants him to promise that he'll come back, and Aaron wants her to promise that she'll be safe. So overall, I actually thought this was an okay storyline they did. It gets a thumbs in the middle. It really didn't really accomplish anything, but it was okay. And then the rest of the episode pretty much was the focus between Rick, Michonne, the scavengers, and the saviors. Um, the episode originally opened up with Michonne's point of view on things, and this is after the events of Carl, of them burying Carl and pretty much his death. And you can see Michonne's obviously very broken up about it, and um, pretty much they have to flee Alexandria because it's just getting overrun by walkers. But before they leave, um, Rashawn finds Carl's favorite believe um a gazebo. I don't know if that's how you say that Carl used to enjoy sitting on, and Rick and Rashawn try to put out the fire, um, but there's just so many walkers invading them that eventually Michonne just has to let it go, so they end up driving away. And Rick wants to go, and Michonne and wonders what Carl meant. No, Rick wonders what Carl meant by saying, um, "Stop fighting." He questions whether or not Carl meant that he wants them to surrender this to the saviors, and um, Then Mashun says that you should read Carl's letters and maybe um, you'll find out what it means. And Rick really isn't ready to read it right now. And then we find out that Carl wrote a letter to Negan, which was very interesting. And obviously, this made Rick curious. So Rick and Michonne are gonna go talk to the scavengers and try to make another deal with them, because Rick thinks that they're gonna be on enemy territory, since Rick was with them when they were trying to go fight the Saviors. So I'll get back to that part of the storyline because that does get used later on. Let's talk about everything that kind of went on prior to them arriving there. So we saw everything that went down in Negan's point of view, and um, Negan is asking how everything went with Simon and with the hilltop, and Simon said it went as requested, and um, you know, pretty much Simon just wants to um, give up on trying to bring the communities like the hilltop, like Alexandria and the kingdom together. They think that they should just um, scra- scrape scrape off the crumbs off the table and just go find other communities. But Negan doesn't want to do things that way. Negan wants to you know Negan wants to do things his way, and he wants Simon to go down to the scavengers and kill one of the members and take their guns to kind of send a message. And Simon's just that, and Simon and you can see Simon and Negan are kind of starting to become at odds a little bit because they're starting to realize that Negan's methods really aren't working anymore. The fact that they tried to um, convince they try the fact that it led to this war. And Negan says that once he can get Rick to go back, once he can get a hold of Rick's nuts again, then everything will be back to the way it was. And Simon goes to go to the scavengers. No, actually, that's not what happens next. Next, what comes in is somebody walks in with the casket, and we see that it's from the hilltop. This is the thing that Maggie um, had written 30. We have 38 more of them. Well, we found out that um, they sent this as a message to show that the Saviors still have some of their men. And Simon wants to go do something about it, but Negan orders Simon to do what he told him to do. So obviously, you can see that Simon and Negan are at odds. And then Simon goes to the scavengers, and he pretty much wants an apology from Jadis, and Jadis doesn't really apologize, but they do agree to keep the deal that they had, but give up their weapons. And um, yeah, they all give up the weapons, and then Simon sees that Jadis is an artist and asks if she was an artist before or after um, everything. And we can see that they're kind of having a little light-hearted conversation, but then it goes really bad. Eventually, Simon and the Saviors end up killing um, everybody of the scavengers because Jadis really he didn't believe Jadis was really showing much remorse, and um, one of the paint cans ends up falling over, and everybody ends up dying. And earlier in the episode, Rick and Michonne had come and saw all this, and it made it really interesting because we didn't even really know what happened to them. Because Rick wanted to make a deal with them, and when they saw that the Saviors came and killed them, that kind of screwed Rick and Michonne. So they have to run away from the walkers pretty much because they can't get out because all the garbage filled dumped on them. And then they climb up on the stack of um, garbage, and then Jadis reveals that she used to be an artist um, before the world ended, and reveal that she used the dumpster as a place to kind of work on her art, but then when she found the other members of the scavengers, it was a way for them to kind of have their own place in the world. But now they don't have it anymore. This obviously made her upset. But Rick and Michonne leave Jadis. Rick takes like a car door and is just gonna run right through the walkers, and he abandons Jadis because of how many times she's turned her back on him, and Rick and Michonne run away, and then Rick shoots a bullet at Jadis, preventing her from going with him. And then what we find out, and this was like Jadis's point of view, um, is Jadis ends up just losing it, and she um, lures the remaining walkers to an industrial shredder and watches her former friends die. And they showed some key characters that Simon had shot earlier, so I thought that made it really good. And obviously, we see that Jadis is just left all by herself. So I'm assuming that we're not. This is probably won't be the last we see of Jadis, but obviously that's TBD. And then when Rick and Michonne go to leave, Michonne says this is probably what Carl's talking about because Rick had a chance to save Jadis and he didn't take it. And obviously, Rick then stops the vehicle and he had a walkie-talkie from one of the dying members of the Saviors, and he asks for Negan. So then, when Simon and the rest of the members of the Saviors arrive back at the sanctuary, um, um, Negan was asking Simon how well it went, and he was very suspicious because Simon fibs that it completely lies, talking about how it went according to plan, how it usually the message got sent, but he has no but um, Negan has no idea that Simon killed all except Jadis at the Scavengers, and then when um, one of the members of the Saviors comes and tells Rick that tells Negan that Rick's talking into the walkie-talkie, we see that he has blue paint all over his shoes, so that's probably going to be a tie-in right there. And Rick and Negan start talking to each other, and Rick tells Negan that Carl passed away and he wrote him a letter and he wants the war to stop. And you could actually see that Negan was a little bit remorseful that Carl had passed away, which was kind of interesting. Because this is like, he hadn't really opened up since season, I think it was season 4, since season 8, episode 4, when he talked about his wife Lucille dying. So that was interesting. And Rick says though that it's too late to stop. It doesn't matter the war. There's too much damage has been done, and no matter what, I'm going to kill you. And then Negan kind of makes Rick feel bad about him. Well, first he asks how Carl passed away. He asks if they killed him, and I think Rick thinks that Negan's being that smarmy asshole, but we find out he's not. He's actually um, legitimately concerned. And then he says that, and then he just tells him how he killed him, how Carl died, and then Negan says that it's all Rick's fault that Carl ended up dying because if you would just fallen in line and not gotten into this war with me, none of this would have ever happened. And he talked about how he failed as a leader and as a father. Then the episode goes off the air. And I like this episode. And it actually kind of had Negan open up because it's like he was having this conversation to himself in a way. So I like this. And I like this episode. I thought it was a pretty good episode. If I had to rate this episode, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was good. I really enjoyed the follow up of episode 9, and I really enjoyed kind of like how they uh, went through everybody individually as a storyline. Um, and I enjoyed the stuff they did with Rick and Negan kind of continue to build to that big face off they're probably going to have at some point, probably at the season finale. So overall, I enjoyed this. Um, that's pretty much it, guys. Make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video so people watch it. Make sure you guys subscribe to this YouTube channel for more content and click on the bell so that way every time you upload a video, you guys will get the notifications for it. Make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers channel, and that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.